Okay, that's a lot of junk to carry. I'm Jeff, Not Dead Yet Adventures, and that's all my camera gear. I'm Jeff, Not Dead Yet Adventures, and that's all my camera gear. Pretty crazy, right? Like you look at all this stuff, and so I'm gonna kind of go through it and point out a bunch of stuff I'm carrying I don't need, point out a bunch of stuff I bought, just a waste of money, and then I'm gonna point out the things that are good and useful to me. So I've got the Action 5 I'm filming on right here. I'll put it on a tripod in a second. I want to kind of go over how I mount it and what I use to mount it because that's the camera I use almost all the time. And then I've got this little Instago 3 I hardly ever use anymore. It's a very useful little camera. It's a great little camera. And if I were, I could potentially be using it a lot more. I just haven't been, and I'll go through that. But I started like looking at weight and looking at all this stuff, just going, I really don't use or need most of this. So let me go over the mounting so I can put this on a tripod. So the Action 5, I use this small rig, little gadget here, and that's the adapter. Now this is the thing that came with the Action 5, and it's got GoPro fingers. I don't want GoPro fingers at all in my life. They're the bane of my existence. I hate them. Back when I was using the GoPro like stuff, they'd always break or whatever. And so two things there. I was in Coron on one of my first trips to the Philippines, and there's this really great swimming area. There's some little hot springs that come up through the ocean, and it's just a really fun place to swim. And it was funny because one of the boat guys, the guys driving the boats, there were like three tours there simultaneously. And one of the boat guys was joking with me that they go down there scuba diving because he saw I had a GoPro. He's like, "Be careful with it." And he's a super nice guy, right? But he's like, "Be careful because we go down there about once a week and we pull up 15 or 20 cameras and GoPros." And that was like one of my first trips. So that kind of opened my eyes to a whole different thing because if you look at the price of a GoPro, $300-400, usually $400 plus accessories, memory cards, and all that stuff. Usually you're looking $500-600. And at the time, I was getting round trip flights to the Philippines for that. I saw one as low as 460. I didn't grab it, but I think my average was probably right around 600. So losing a GoPro or a trip to the Philippines, I got very price aware. So I don't like GoPro fingers. That and they're a pain in the ass. And then you've got all these screws. So this small rig, it has GoPro fingers on the bottom, and then it's got a quarter 20 screw that I put into this guy right here by Small Rig. And this is, I'll go through this in more detail. But then I've got a cube on there, and the cube is just one of these, right? It's got a bunch of quarter 20s. And then I've got this, I don't know what you call it. Oh, they're saying it's a hawk lock. I'll go through all this on the side. And then I just added this piece here. But what this allows me to do is when I've got my camera in my backpack, I can just clip it on and off. Of course, it's not going to do it easily because I'm not wearing it. I'm trying to show off, right? But come on, get the one hand going. So it clips in there like that, boom, and it's solid, it's secure, it doesn't vibrate, doesn't wiggle. I can use this ball joint to put the camera anywhere I want, and then usually I'll leave it a little soft, and I can turn the camera around, so when I'm walking around, it doesn't really bother or offend people. A lot of cultures, they're not big on cameras, right? And so if I keep this just tightened a little bit soft, I can adjust the camera by hand with just friction, works out great, and then it pops on and off super easy, right? This hawk lock is really a great piece of gear, and all I did is I took a, where is it? I had one sitting up here. See, when you've got so much junk. Okay, so this is what I've got. So I took one of these, and that's quarter 20, and I cut it down. I put it through this piece of plastic. This is a cold shoe mount. So I put it through this piece of plastic for rigidity, and then some Velcro, and then I put the hawk lock on there. So I can take it off. It's a pain in the ass because I like it nice and tight. But it all worked out very simply and great. And then I just added this piece. I had this sitting in my gear for a bit, and this allows me to pop that on and off super fast. I have the other hawk lock I could put there, but I'd rather not. And I didn't really like this for attaching it to the shoulder strap because it wasn't as easy. I tried them both, but this slider by Small Rig wasn't as easy. The tolerances are very low. It's So the tolerances are very tight on this, so it wasn't easy getting it on and off the shoulder strap, and that's why I went with the hawk lock. Because the hawk lock, when it's on the shoulder strap, I just line it up and I hook my thumb in behind and I just push and it snaps into place. So and maybe I'll put it on and show you, maybe I won't. But I'm going to try this just so I can detach, because what I normally been doing is I just unscrew this from this. And so I'm going to try this and see if I like it to just detach the handle and put the handle away. The handle's just a Smotree carbon fiber extension tube. I bought these with an extension pole, and they call this a float tube. So this is floats, And so a lot of times when I was in the Philippines going island hopping, I would just put my camera on one of these instead of the little orange floaty. And like, I had fun with it. You're sitting on the boat, I would just throw it out in the water and then swim out and grab it because it floats with the little blue end up. Um, but you need to double check these every time because I've got 3 of them now, and that works out perfect for me. So I don't have an extension pole. I just have the 3. My tripod fell off the table. And then I used to have a really great tripod, but it was too heavy and expensive. So I picked this guy up in Malaysia for $5, and it works perfect. It's a little piece of plastic, but instead of carrying an extension pole, which I never liked, and they're always like a pain in the ass, and they all have GoPro fingers. So I've got 3 of these. I can put them together, take them apart, and I find I don't really need the extension. Majority of the time when I'm filming, I just need the one pole with this. And now that I've got that on, I can put this on my shoulder strap and carry it with just the camera, or I can add the stick and move. So that's a new add-on, is the quick release on the stick, because I was just unscrewing it every time. But I had this piece of gear and I figured I'd try that because I don't like walking around with a stick hanging from my shoulder strap. It kind of looks funny. I get some funny looks. Where just the camera, I usually don't get too many looks. So let me set the camera up on a tripod and I'll start going through this item by item and show you the pros and cons of everything and what I plan on keeping. So it won't be a quick video, but it will be a detailed video. Okay, there you can see the tripod and how I use it. I'm just going to lock that in and I'll crop in on that. Got it in super night mode because the lights here aren't great, but hopefully I'll try and that'll make it cropping a little easier, I think. So let's start with the stuff that is the most irrelevant. So this is a Joby little tripod for your phone. It's not the best, but it is probably the smallest. And this is a 1/4 20. It screws off, and I could put that onto a tripod or onto a ball joint. But I used to film with my cameras a lot, and so I picked up this guy. There's a name, and this thing was amazing. The problem was you had to constantly carry Allen keys and tighten these. But the amazing thing was, is you open this up, and then it would lock down on your phone, and you tighten it down, and it was not going anywhere. Somebody could grab your phone, and they weren't getting it out of this case. So I used this with the iPhone Mini and the Pro Max, and it worked awesome. And it rotates like this. It's got a lock, and then it locks down. It's got a cold shoe, and then you could put 1/4 20 there, 1/4 20 or 3/8 there. It was like, but it's heavy too. So I don't film with my iPhones anymore. I don't really need it. So that's going to go bye-bye. This is mostly bedstand stuff, and if I need to do a quick filming on a pole with my iPhone, I can use that. I can put that 1/4 20 onto something, but frankly, I don't use the phones for filming like that much anymore. So, but if I do, right, I don't need to carry this big chunk of stuff, right? It's big, it's heavy, it's strong, and if I were filming solely with a camera or with a phone, I would probably keep this, because if that's your only thing you're filming with, this is really all you need because of the way it flexes and the way it rotates, and then it just go on a tripod or a pole, and this is really all you need. You don't need a ball joint or anything like that. This has got you covered. So for one piece of gear, in fact, it's hard to get rid of because you probably won't find something that great again to be metal. But and the fact that it locks like, so that you see it locks like that. So the more I talk about things, the harder it is to get rid of them. But this is on the chopping block. This is a battery, and I'm not getting rid of this at all, but very handy to run things, like if you're going to do a time lapse or anything like that. And what I did is I took some of these Velcro ties, and I'm going to get back into these more, but I've just put a loop around it, and then I can hang it off of the extension pole, or I can hang it off one of these magnets, screw something on there, and then just run it. But it's just a regular backup battery. And these, I'll get into these in a little bit, but since it's sitting there, that's there. Now let's get into the Action 5 that I'm filming on now. So the Action 5 comes with this guy, 3 batteries. My battery's dead from today. Filmed a lot of time lapses. I picked up an extra camera lens in Japan. It was super expensive. Yeah, Action 5 Pro glass. So I picked up an extra lens. I've actually scratched the lens, and these are lens covers. These I love because you put the camera in there, it goes in your pocket, nice and easy, and I don't worry about it in my pocket. So I get that for pretty much every action camera I've ever had, just whatever cheap one you like on Amazon. Now it came with, this is the adhesive mount. What do I do with that other mount? So it came with this. I totally hate this. It works great. It magnets good, but the DJI, which is facing forward, is very subtle, so it's hard to see, and it uses GoPro mounts. I literally can't stand them. And then since it was the Action kit, it came with another one of these and a adhesive mount. I just opened it for the first time today, to be honest, but I've been carrying this around as backups. Now, I originally bought this mic, and I hardly ever used it because it was kind of a pain in the ass without the kit. So what I'm using now is I've just recently picked this up, and these are the mini mics, and that's what I'm using now. Super easy to use. So if you're going to buy mics for the DJI, which is one of the main reasons to get DJI, I would get the kit. Now the kit for these is super expensive. The kit, you know, this is like half the price or more. But I'd carry this around in a little padded bag, and I think I've used it twice in 9 months, twice. Where this, I'm starting, it's easy, so I use it all the time. I just pop it open, I put it on, and put it back. And I mean, I haven't charged this in weeks, and it's still showing full charge. So, but it's just a matter of ease, right? It auto connects. This is an impressive piece of gear. So it charges the batteries. It's not super fast, but I wanted to see if it would charge. You know, I wanted to test it. So when I first got the camera, you know, I put a battery in it and turn it on, set it out in the sun, and see what it does, right? And did that 4 or 5 times, and then I charged the batteries, and I want to see, you know, how well this works as a battery backup. So it's got the USB-C. So I plug in my iPhone, and it charged my iPhone like super fast, faster than almost anything. So the one thing I would caution is be very wary of what you plug into this to charge if you're going to charge off of this, because this got so hot it nearly burned my hand. My Action 5 actually gets so hot sometimes, you know, it will almost burn you, like your skin. So just be aware of that. This will charge, but at first I was worried I fried one of the batteries because it was so hot. So that's pretty much for Action 5 specific stuff. It's really simple. I don't use it much or use many accessories. I just, you know, grab it, turn it on, and go. And that's the beauty of the Action 5 is, for me, is the batteries last forever. I don't think I've ever used all 3 batteries. The battery that's dead here still has about 30%, and I changed it because it was getting hot, and I was filming on a bus and 4K 60, and the camera was getting hot, so I just changed batteries. But yeah, I don't think I've ever used all 3 batteries when I'm out filming. Usually I'll go through 1 battery a day when I'm out filming clips or whatever. And I film probably, you know, I post maybe 3% of what I film, maybe 2% of what I film, just to give you an idea. So these are just some headlamps I carry, and the only reason I've got them up here is that's where I got the strap for this. So they don't really belong in this group, but they usually travel with my camera gear. So the Action, or the Instago 3S, I love this little camera. There's some accessories with this I'd say are mandatory. So with the Action 5, I'd say the only mandatory accessory is always a backup lens, and then that small rig clip it's plugged into. Now with this one, there's a lot of accessories. I would say if you really want to use this camera a lot, there's a lot of accessories that I would want you to get to really enjoy it. One that makes transfers easy is this little guy. And it takes an SD card here. You can transfer directly from the little camera to the SD card, or you can plug it into your iPhone, or the old iPhones, or you can plug it into the new iPhones, or whatever. And the accessory that this really kind of requires is a high-quality USB extension cable. So that's a male-female extension cable, because this just doesn't sit, you know, on your laptop. It's too heavy, it hangs, things like that. So it's just kind of a pain in the ass. Now this, I got to go with this. This is the hat clip or whatever, and I added the little Velcro so the camera doesn't fall out. But this goes on your hat, and it's very handy. But I took the head strap for one of those lights, and I'll put it on here. See if I can do this nicely. Where'd that go? Hopefully you got that. So I'll put it on there, and then I can walk around with this camera on my head. And pop the camera out. I push the little button. Pull it out. So I'll do that. I'll do that. And then I can walk around with the camera on my head. And this just keeps it from falling out. Or I'll put it on my hat. But you wear it just like a headlamp, and it works out really nice. You can angle the camera, get different points of view. And then it just pops out. So I slide the Velcro over, pops out, boom, boom, back in there. So that's why I like this. Now, if I were going to, you know, if I were still at home or had access to Amazon, this is one of the things I would buy a second one, because if it breaks or gets lost, you know, I'm always kind of sketchy. But if I was going to buy a backup of anything for that camera, I'd buy another one of these, just because it's the most handy mount I've got. And then it came with this and this, and you screw this together, and it's got some stupid, I don't understand what this is all about. You know, it's just like, who comes up with this stuff, right? And this is kind of cool. This is the mount it came with, and it's like, it's kind of cool because it's got the little ball mount, but it's friction. There's no way to tighten the friction or loosen the friction, and it's eventually gonna, you know, just wear out right quickly and go away. So I've been carrying these. I never use them. Never use them. Usually, if I'm using the camera, it's independent or you know, something else. But just the most useless piece of gear. I was looking at it just now, wondering if I could cut that off and put a 1/4 on the back or something to make that more useful. But literally, like the most useless piece of gear to send with a camera, and that's what they sent, right? You get that, and you get this pendant, and I'll get back to the pendant. So I bought this, and this is just like the, I think this was from Instago. And it's the same thing. It's got a 1/4. It's got the damn GoPro wings on the back, but it clicks in. It works just like the Action 5, right? It's nice and clips great. The one thing is when you're dropping the camera, the little guy, into it by itself, is you really got to double check and look at the clips and make sure it's locked in there, because sometimes it'll feel locked in and it's not. And then it allows you to put it on a quarter 20. You can put it on a ball joint, or mount the camera any other way you want. But there's a lot of advantages to this little guy, and why they don't ship this. It's just a marketing scam, I'm sure, because this is the only clip you really need with that camera. And again, I'd probably get 2 of these so I could have one mounted to, other mounting options just ready to go. Yeah, see there, it wasn't clipped in. That's what, I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up, but that little clip doesn't clip in, so you got to wiggle it and make sure it's in there good. But yeah, I'd like to have one of these permanently mounted on a ball joint, and then one on a different joint or thing. So the other accessories I bought for this camera, this is a little rubber sleeve with a dummy cord on it, and I put a little Velcro strap around it. So when you're wearing it in the pendant, it's real easy to knock off, right? So you've got this under your shirt or in a pocket, and this goes around your neck, right? It gets, why it's white, so it gets dirty and grimy. Shows the dirt and grime like instantly. It makes no sense to me. This goes against your skin. It's nice and soft, right? And then the camera mounts those 2 ways. But it's real easy to knock off and be gone, right? So I got this little sleeve. It works pretty good. Got the Velcro to go around it if I need a little more security. It's not the best, like, if somebody can still grab it and run, and they'll probably get it, but it keeps it from getting knocked off and falling away. And it's got a little dummy cord you can put on a button or whatever. So when I'm wearing it in a pendant or pendant style, I almost always use this. This guy I got so I can, again, it's got the GoPro wings, right? It's just a pain in the neck. Now, what I'd envisioned is, I can't show you with my Action 5, but I can kind of show you here. So what I'd envisioned is if I take this, and I put this on my GoPro, on my pole, right? And then I have the Action 5 on here. I can put this on here, right? And so, oops, let me spin it around, and then pull this camera out. So if I wanted to do, get in there. I'll use this. It's not going to work, but you can see. So if I wanted to do filming in 2 directions or film myself and film out, this would do it, right? So I can put this on my pole, and add this little add-on. So this little, what's neat about this little guy is it's got that end screw, right? So you can mount it. Having this end screw makes it unique. So you can mount it like that or like that really easily. And what I really discovered later is with this, if I want to do the same thing on my pole, right? Easy answer is I can just put this on there, put a washer on the back, so and then I can have it filming back at me. So I don't even really need this anymore once I sorted this out, is I can just use that directly. And so again, this is probably one of those pieces of gear that I don't really need because I have this. If I had more of these, like if I had 2 of these, that would be ideal, right? I would just, honestly, I'd probably just keep it one mounted on my pole, and then I'd use this camera a lot more. In fact, I may just mount this on the pole and use my camera more that way. So I could, because with this being a ball joint, I can spin the Action 5 anywhere I want, and then the little camera can pick up side reel or me, or vice versa. So it's just it was a good idea, and it's a great little piece of gear, but it's really not needed, right? Not needed. And then this one, let me pop this out of here. Yeah, see stuff, nice tight fit too. It's like a good piece of gear. And I may keep it just because it's a good piece of gear, but I don't need it, right? I don't need it. So this was another pendant, right? A backup pendant. And it's got this nice little, the advantage of this one is 2 advantages to this. Is you drop this in there, it's got the little clip to hold it, right? But then you can adjust the pendant up and down, right? It's got that hinge, it's got a magnet, so you can drop it onto whatever else. It's magnetic, right? Or set it flat, put it on a pole, right? Whatever. And the funny thing is a lot of people, they'll go put it on a flat pole like this, and it allows you to adjust down, but the real hack is if you're going to tag it to a pole or something, I think I'm out of frame. If you're going to tag it to a pole or something, put it downwards, and then you can adjust, get a greater range of adjustment. But anyway, I wonder how much all that was out of frame. But this is just a magnetic pendant on a necklace, and this is actually, I like this a lot better for a lot of things. But that it is what it is. It's a nice little case. Gives you the option to have it pointed downward or what. But this also connects directly to it, not as tightly or strongly, but so there's that. So if I was going to wear this outside my shirt, I might do something like that. And that gets me back to this. So this is another magnet. This is actually a bunch of little rare earth magnet bars that I just put together with some Gorilla Tape. And the reason I did that is I wanted to use this camera on a thicker shirt. So this will connect directly to that, or I can put it as a backup on something like this. And it just adds more magnetic force. Because I was trying to put this on through a thicker shirt and it wasn't working. So that was my answer. I just had some rare earth magnets. I taped them together, made like a stronger magnet, and so it sticks just fine. Yeah, so magnets. Let's see. Did I cover all the Instago 3 stuff? Instago 3 stuff. The pendant I like, but sometimes the angling's hard. So getting it to sit flat can be a pain in the ass. Getting it to, because I don't know if your chest is flat or not, but a lot of times if I just throw this around my neck and throw the camera on there, the camera's pointed at the sky, and that doesn't do much good. So getting the adjustment on this can be a pain in the ass. And so what I've learned is I'll put um, this in a pocket, and then I'll put this behind the shirt, and it allows me to adjust this according to the shirt, and then put the camera on there so it fits nicely. There's a lot of great idea, but not super effective. I'm not as happy with this as I thought I would be, just because getting the angle of adjustment on the camera to look decent is a pain in the ass. So if it had like something that rotated and had different an angle to it, that would probably be better. So you could rotate this, get the right angle, and then the camera face would be correct, right? But yeah, great idea, just not that great of a tool. And again, I'm always worried about it popping off. And why white? Why, let's take all that neck grime and just highlight it, right? And you're constantly washing this thing, and it's still, when you're out in a hot, sweaty environment, it's super hard to keep clean. And why white? I don't know. So that's Instago 3 stuff. Magnets, I talked about this magnet. Now, what I also did is I found these, and I've covered them in tape so they're black. I was using them on a train, and I don't know. So these are just rare earth magnets with a 1/4 20 stud, and the stud was like an inch long. I took a grinder to it, cut it down, and then I use them with this, and so I can use this through my jacket or my thicker shirts, and put things on that way and walk around with a chest mount. And I can chest mount pretty much anything. I mean, this is a solid connection. It's not easy to come off there. You got to slide it. And then the other thing I can do with this is I'll take this and I'll stick it somewhere, and I'll put one of the extension poles on it, and I'll mount the camera that way. So I do that on buses and trains occasionally to get a time lapse. Is I'll put a pole in there and stick this to something metal, and it works great. Hanging works great. But these are just some super strong rare earth magnets with a 1/4 20 stud that I put tape over. And again, they allow me, the real advantage I discovered was I take one of these and I put it on like this, and now I can magnetic mount my Action 5, and it actually works best in the inverse. So I'll put that through my coat, and I'll hang this, and then I'll put my Action 5 on there hanging, and it actually works really well in the hanging down as opposed to trying to hold it up, because when you're trying to hold it up, it wants to always kind of teeter. But if I hang it down, and it works really well to use the Action 5 like you would want to use this as a little pendant camera. This is like your homemade pendant for the Action 5. So that's all the stuff that I use quite a bit. And I use these in many ways. I use that in many ways. And then we've got all this other stuff that just is randomness. GoPro screws suck. These are the short ones. And y'all know how much I love GoPro already. So GoPro fingers, screws, they all just suck, right? So you've got to carry a wrench with them, right? Now the best GoPro screws GoPro made, but they even screwed this up. They didn't make this thread long enough, but this was for their knuckles, and it's a great little screw for their knuckles. But if you have one of these new ones that are metal, the screws don't go far enough through, and you can't clamp it down. So, c'est la vie. And I'm carrying all this other stuff, right? These are probably the best, like legit GoPro screw. They do that so you can torque them down, fold them tight. They look nice and trim. Rapid locks. These are what I came up with. This is like a, I forgot what they call it, but it's the same. It's an M5, which is the GoPro thread, right? I don't remember what it's for, but it's got this handle on it. So if I'm holding the screw tight, I pull it out and I rotate the handle, and then I just put this little knurled nut on there to give me the distance to make it better. Like on this one, I just put a flanged hex nut on there, and so I put it in there, screws down tight. You get all the leverage you want. You're not having a problem. And see, I can take this and I can adjust it to wherever I want. It pulls out and turns to get the handle in the most convenient spot, and it's quick. So if you're using GoPro fingers, these are a must in my mind because they're great. Again, on Amazon, and the knurled nut just takes up thread space, so you're not having to spin it forever in a day to get your GoPro on and off. And being able to use the finger like that makes it fast. So that's all the GoPro stuff. And the only reason I need GoPro fingers right now is if I have to go to a backup of this for the Action 5. So what I'm looking at is all this GoPro stuff, right? This is the male version. This is the female version. Now these, so I'm looking at all this, GoPro fingers and nuts and stuff. Like the 1/4 20s I might keep it. Like this is for GoPro thread, knurled nut. I'm looking at all this stuff. I don't really need it. Now these are the best GoPro things. They're HSU. Now, GoPro fingers, these are probably the best conversion tool I've found. And what makes these so great is there's an Allen key in there, right? It's got like a 4 slots for Allen keys. And so, shoot, where's my, I don't think this is the right Allen key. So what you can do is, this is both a male and a female version of this, right? And the reason being is you take that Allen key, and this is just a set screw like that that comes in and out. So you can use it as a male or female. And the real cool thing about this is you put it onto, where's something I can screw it onto? So I put it on here, right? Now, I'm not spinning the whole thing. I just need to spin this nut in there, right? So I'm spinning the whole thing. But I can adjust the fingers in any direction I want and then tighten it down. I don't know if I'm making that clear. But I can adjust the direction of the fingers anywhere I want at any angle. And then I tighten this nut down. And that's what connects to the device or wherever you're mounting it. And then you take, the real genius is you take your Allen key, you put it in there, and it tightens down. So you hold your fingers wherever you want them, right? And then you tighten this thing down so you can have these fingers offset in any direction you want. And then this is a male and a female. So these are like, you know, the go-to GoPro fingers. And then see, the whole thing just spins off super easy with the Allen key. So there's no carrying this stupid wrench, you know, for this device, right? There's no, it's easy, right? And the fact that you can rotate the fingers to any direction you want before you lock it down removes the need for all those knuckles and buckles and BS. So I discovered that. I bought 3 of them, and guess what? I don't need them or use them. So in the end, probably what I'm going to end up keeping, right, is this. And I like that one because it's got the thing, right? So that's probably what I'm going to end up keeping, is something like this. Because that's really all I need anymore, right? Because everything else is 1/4-20. So to get this, you know, Action 5 plate to a 1/4-20, that's really all I need. So that's probably all I'm going to end up keeping out of this, because I don't need the GoPro screws, I don't need the mounts, right? I'm going to keep that, actually, the block, right? But all the GoPro finger junk is over and done with, you know, finally. But I will say, you know, I wish I had these like a long time ago, because these solve all the problems. And you can use it in reverse, right? So if you've got a extension pole with fingers, you can put this on there, and it's the same thing, right? You just, it's got the 1/4-20 to go to whatever you want. And 1/4-20 is just such a better, you know, attachment system. But yeah, and the funny thing is like the extension pole that came with these carbon fiber tubes, the reason I don't carry it is because it's got the GoPro fingers on top. And I was thinking about cutting them off and, you know, putting a 1/4-20 on top, but there's too much work, right? I don't need it. But if I were staying with any GoPro fingers, this HSU thing is probably the best go-to. And then you do need the little Allen key to take the set screw in and out. The set screws with these cubes are a godsend. Like, these cubes are a godsend. So, you know, they're a little extension, and then 2, they just make mounting so much easier. So you saw the way I mounted my camera, so I can take one of these and spin it on there. And it's got the little pin so it doesn't rotate once it's on there, right? And then that's just a backup or to mount somewhere else. Again, 1/4-20 on the back, super easy. Small rig. I'm really impressed with small rig. But it just makes it easy to spin everything together, lock it down, and you're done. So, yeah, the Action 5, you know, why they would send it with GoPro fingers, they're just, like, out of date. But that's probably all I'm going to end up keeping, because that's all I really need. And again, this is just clutter and garbage to be carrying that. You know, why am I carrying all this? The flat shoe and washers come in handy every now and again when I'm trying to get creative. The other thing I didn't really go into is this mount here, this small rig ball joint that I use is, again, I'm super happy with this. This spins off. It's just a, like a, I don't know what you call it, spacer nut plate. So when you put your camera on there, it's got a little rubber compression, so it compresses down. Now this one, I've got the 1/4-20 extension screwed into it, so it's a male, and it's tightened down. So it's a male, so that's not coming out. The set screw in there is tightened down, so this won't come out. But the cool thing about this, I'll take the other one apart and show you. The cool thing about this is let me get this tightened back in there. I hope I'm in frame. That's the one. There's 2 things about this that I'm not happy with. One is the threads here on both of them are kind of janky. And then the other thing I'm not real happy about is this, the way this is set up. The exit port, or the flat port, is 90 degrees to this. So when you mount it on things, if I'm trying to get the camera in that position, the only place for this thumb screw to be is 90 degrees. So the easy solution would be to make one offset. So have one here and have one there at 90 degrees that way, so I could put the set screw to the side. Just because the way it mounts, sometimes it's real inconvenient to have the set screw opposite the camera. But where was I going? Oh, the other thing is, so when you get this mounted, right, the beauty of this is, I get this mounted. is when I loosen this up, the screw is still tight and snug, right? You turn it down, it's tight and snug, right? So you roll that to the side, boom. Okay, so that's locked in there. That screw's locked in there. But I loosen this, the whole thing spins, and then the ball spins and moves free. So that's just a great design. So you can put it anywhere, anything. And again, like the only hang up is these two have to be perpendicular, because sometimes this just gets in the way. But that is a great little thing. So, and then to get it off, you got to lock it down and spin it, and then that comes off. And again, you can have this being a male or female. I've got it set up as a male, the other one set up as a female. Let me change up the camera and show you that. Okay, I think this is the first time, maybe the second time I'm ever using that mount that came with it, with the Action 5. Let me get you clicked in there. See, it doesn't even click in as smoothly. But I think that's the first time I've ever actually using, maybe the second time, I don't know, I don't remember. I was just playing around. So this is what I was talking about. A lot of times I'll have this mounted on my shoulder strap like that, and I've got this and the camera on there, and I'm trying to point the camera in a different direction. You can see that thumb screw just gets in the way. So to have the camera pointed more down or whatever, it just gets in the way. So having an option to put it off to the side like that would be great. I don't know how it would do durability strength-wise, but let me pop the hawk lock off there. Take this screw out all the way, and you can see that's locked in there. This is locked onto that with a wrench, so that's not coming free. And then there's a little set screw there, so I've got one of these screwed in there. So you put this in like that, and then you come around to the side. So this is in there like that, and then I put a set screw in there to, I need to cut my nails, but I put a set screw in there to lock it in, and then I lock that on with a wrench. But this whole ball joint comes apart like that. And then if we take this off, let's see if I can do it. I usually have these locked down super tight. There we go. So that's the small rig that I would say buy 2 or 3. If you get an Action 5, this should be your first purchase. And then this comes off. Again, let's see if I can get it off without, no, I'm gonna have to, I don't think I can get that off. Yeah, put it back together, take that off. Obviously didn't plan this, just kind of stumbling through it. And if you watched it all, hopefully there's something here that helps you. But I need to lock this ball down so I can get some grip on there, yeah. So that's a little nut. And all this comes apart, like I was saying. This is probably the best designed piece of gear for the GoPro I've seen. It's all, so it's got that piece, this piece, the ball, the screw. And there's only 2 things I don't care for with this. One is the threading on this. So the threading, the machining and threading here, it's not the best. And then 2 is this joint here, right? So where this comes out. So I would like to have 2 at offset angles to the thumb screw. And then it doesn't matter which way, right? Yeah, that wouldn't work. But even just having 2 like offset, like, at thirds or something. But the way it's set up, it just, a lot of times this thumb screw gets in the way when I'm trying to mount it. But that drops in there, and that piece goes in there, and it all locks down. This is a great little tool. Like, this is really, probably one of the best things I've got. The little rubber on there, when you spin this on, it just locks it in, really great. But yeah, if you're getting an Action 5 or an Action camera, this small rig ball joint and the small rig clip, I would say, are must buys. And sorry it took to the end of the video to get there, but if I were to say the one accessory you can't, or you should buy immediately, is this. Set up right there. It's just so versatile. You just throw that on any pole and you're ready to go. And then the cubes are useful. So like if I were going shopping tomorrow, I would buy probably 2 more cubes, 3 more cubes, because the way I mount them on the magnets, sometimes it'd be nice to have 2 or 3 more cubes to use as blocks for spacing. And I've got 2 of these, so I probably wouldn't buy another one of these, but I'd definitely buy 2 more of these, just so I could have more permanently mounted. So, and then the small rig, the hawk lock. I don't know if I'm a big fan of this slider yet, but being able to slide the camera on and off the pole, I think is going to be advantageous. And it works both ways, right? So it doesn't really matter with a pole because the pole's round, but it's super tight. So it's not made for this, but the tolerances on it are super tight. So it's not a super convenient to get it in and out, right? Where the hawk locks, the way they lock in, all you have to do is you line up there's a little divot there. You just line that up and push, and it goes in. Takes a nice good little push to get over the spring, right? And then watch. Oh, last time it popped out. Last time it went flying. But yeah, these are all meant to be screwed onto things. It's hard to manipulate these with just 2 hands. Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about right there. It's just super easy, right? And I don't have to be as exact, right? I just get it close, a good push, and it's there. So I really like that setup. Again, I'm not sure about this, but this setup and having this onto a shoulder strap is great. And like I said, I just used, where did it go? It's just a cold shoe mount right there. So it's just a cold shoe mount. I put some plastic and then the Velcro strapping, but I just put that on a cold shoe mount. And I'm sure you can come up with a better option. The other funny thing is, you can mount a magnet to it and make it just a, whatever, right? But having the quarter 20 just gives you so many more options. So I'm going to break this out, and I really need to trim down what I'm carrying, so it's just too much. So I'm going to sort out what to do with this other stuff. But again, if you haven't heard me say it, the number one thing I would buy for the Action 5 is one of these ball joints and multiples of these. And then just put that on whatever stick you want, or, if you're going to go GoPro fingers, more power to you. But, if you take a GoPro finger, and like these are probably the best GoPro finger adapters, right? Or if you have a stick and you've got, a stick with GoPro fingers on it, you're only getting that movement, right? You're not getting the ball joint movement. And it's just, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, if it's a pole, you can spin it in your hand, right? And that's all maybe you need or want. It's just, I don't know, not good for me. I don't like it. I just don't like it. I don't like GoPro fingers. Had too many break. And I'm sure a quarter 20 can break, but it hasn't happened yet. So yeah, if I were sticking with the GoPro fingers, this guy right here would be the thing to buy. And again, it's just because you can adjust it to wherever you want it. Put it on your stick, and adjust this. Put it on whatever you're mounting it on. Right, I can adjust the fingers and then lock it down. Adjust the fingers that way, lock it down. Right. So if you're mounting, if you're just mounting on a stick, it probably doesn't matter. But if you're going to mount on a car or a magnet or anything like that, it definitely matters. And I like mounting on magnets. I don't know why, but they're getting stronger and stronger. Oh, shoot, last thing. These are cable ties. These are probably the most, one of the most useful tools. I showed how it holds a battery, and you buy a bunch of these for a cheap price, and they tie your cables, and they act as securing devices. They're just super useful. Just throw a bunch of these in your bag. They're cheap. They're easy to cut. Yeah, like this. Yeah, so I'm going to put together what I'm actually going to carry with me forward, and I'll show you a photo of that and clean up this mess. Honorable mention. So I don't know where I moved my, I think I knocked my string off the table. So I've got some fishing line string, and then this is a dummy cord I made. So that's just a flat key ring. I just ended up getting this, and I really like it. Nice thing is I can put it between things like that, and it works out nicely between the pole if I want it here, or whatever. But it's just a key ring with some. This is a braided fishing cord, so it won't melt like the others, but you're not going to break this. So if I want to dummy cord something, and having that big loop and the small loop works out nicely, because I can do that, or I can feed it through little attachment points, right? And I can go like this, and I can go like this, and I can dummy cord it like that. So it works out great. Again, that's one thing the Instago 3S is kind of lacking, is a good dummy cord. And I've got ideas. I've always got ideas on how to fix it, but there's no little attachment point on here to make a good dummy cord. So what you end up doing is going around. So there's no good attachment point on the Go 3S for a dummy cord. So what I end up doing is going around the lens, and it's probably not the smartest, but you can take this and come around the lens, get over my knot, get over the knot. So you can do that, and that makes a nice little dummy cord. I'm not sure that's the best for the camera, but it does work. So if you're super worried about losing this, that makes a nice little dummy cord. And it's a pain in the ass to get off. So I don't know that I would be doing that and expect this to be, like, I'd be concerned about it messing up the waterproof seal, right? This thing's supposed to be waterproof. what I would do on all action cameras is I would just have a little tiny nut, like a little tiny nut with a hole in it, and you can put a string through, tie a knot in it, and then just screw the nut in and make a little dummy cord that way. And I would just make it, you could do it on every action camera. And then you get this super high strength fishing line and make it your little dummy cord, and it's dark, it falls out of the way easily. It's not going to be in the way, and just cut and tie to whatever size you need. But if you do need to put a really good dummy cord on this camera, that's how I would do it. And I just happen to have this ring, so it works out nice, because I can dummy cord things like that. Or on here, I could take this. If I was worried about something falling off or going away, I could take this and do this. Right? And say I was going swimming, I could use the ring as a dummy cord for this and put a loop around my wrist. But just something I had and I used, and it was there, so I thought I would share it. I do like this idea, though. I gotta tell you, I am liking this idea right here. Watch this. This idea is growing on me more and more and more. Spin you, spin you, spin you, and you. So that idea is growing on me very much. Where's the camera? There's the camera. So I like that idea quite a lot. Because I can put the big camera on top, the Action 5, and then the Instago 360. Yeah, I like that a lot. I'm going to have to start thinking about doing that more often. And then you can go vertical if you want to go vertical for the other social medias, but I'm liking this already. But yeah, I'm going to start using this camera more, I think, or try to. The big advantage when you're doing like walking videos is it's not a scene. And the other thing that kind of occurred to me, because with the pendant I have a hard time with the magnetic, it doesn't always work. It's not always strong enough. But it occurred to me I can also use this straight to this. And then that will rotate however I want. Put that behind my shirt, and that will go through my jacket, no problem. No problem on the jacket. So I do want to throw this guy in there. Yeah, so I think I may start doing more with this camera. Yeah, I like that better. It's a little bulky, but it's a lot stronger than just the pendant. The pendant is nice, but I'm always worried about it just falling off, right? It is nice, it's quick, and if I wasn't out and about, like, if I was working or, I don't know. But again, it comes back to the issue of how it hangs and how it hangs through the shirt. So a lot of times, I'm not getting the angle this way I want. So it's like pointing up at the sky as opposed to straight. So, I don't know.